the fact that you're really, starting this new paradigm of not just leaning in, because of course you founded Girls That Code, but now bringing in and kind of like balancing this idea of, yes, motherhood, that's huge and that's central. And even just speaking it out loud, we've never really had to think about restructuring anything for women in the workforce. And so, what is the hope that you have for the book?
My hope for the book is to ignite a revolution in workplaces, and to have women not feel like they have to breastfeed in closets and apologize for being a mom, and to basically be able to create workplaces that value us, that create that support structure. And for women who don't have children, to say, don't let them take your choice away from you. One of the interesting things was when, during the pandemic, so many of the young women who work for me who don't have kids are like, they would see me with signs. I'm like, no, thank you. Right.
Right.
Uh,
Right
uh,
away. They're like, that's not
right.
for me.
No, yeah, nah. And
Yeah.
I would say, no, 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 no. If you don't want to have kids, that's cool. But like, you choose. Don't let them choose for you. And right now, when you see, again, the lowest birth rate, a declining birth rate in the history, in the past 50 years,
Oh, I
it's
did not know that.
because, yeah, people are not having children at all. It's actually a crisis. And it's, again, so much of it has to do with the fact of it's too expensive, it's too hard, there's no support. And so we've got to change that to preserve choice. I think for a lot of men, it's like they spent the past 2 years getting to take their kids to school and to soccer class, and like that was good for them, good for their hearts, good for their, good for their health. And so maintaining that is something that's important to them. But again, we live in this culture of sometimes toxic masculinity
Hmm.
that doesn't allow them. So they rather quit
Mm.
uh, rather than ask for what they need. So I think what we want for working moms is what everybody wants. And sometimes when you build the workplace for the most vulnerable, for the person who's the least supported, you end up building it for everybody.
Mm.
Um, and so, yeah, look, pay up is in many ways, it's the opposite of every single women in workbook you've ever read.
Mm.
And most people, I was being interviewed by a woman yesterday. She was like, when I got your book, I'm like, here we go. Another lean in. And she doesn't have, she doesn't have kids. And she opened up, she goes, I was like, I freaking love this book because it was
Mm.
not what I expected. And it's exactly the opposite. It's the opposite of what we've been telling people, what even I've been telling people.
So
Um,
true.
and it,
Same, which is
and
why
it,
I wanted to have you on this, because
yeah,
it's like we've been talking to women and young women who are so ambitious, who want to have it all, but instead they're like doing it all. And now here you are saying, well, actually we're in a different season of our lives. And
yeah,
obviously it only had to make sense now for you as a mama of two
yeah,
that this, so many had to change. And the one thing that I know that for so many of our listeners who are kind of like, all right, how do I start to have this conversation to change the narrative within my employer to educate them?
yeah,
And they're shy because they are people pleasers.
yeah.
What tips do you have to get that conversation going
Okay.
besides, of course, getting the book for sure?
It's all in my book. It's all in my book. But look, I think the first thing is we have to start building that muscle of asking for what we need. So think about one thing in your work life that you want. It again, you don't have to be a mom, like whoever. Think about one thing that you want in your work life that you want to advocate for. And then make the practice of asking for it. And people are, it's a seller's market right now. The amount of salaries that people are asking for, corner offices, unlimited vacation time, working from blah on Friday. It is literally a seller's market. And so do that work of really saying, what do I want? And then take one step towards advocating for it. Because part of like we spend most of our life day in work. So
Mm.
work has got to fit with life. Life doesn't have to fit with work. And so like we've got to make sure that we are designing our workplaces, and it's not a one size fits all. That's the other thing. It's like people have different needs.
Yeah.
And we've been trying to design one workplace for everybody. And that's not working.
Mm. And the other question before we kind of wrap up and get into our igniting round is for any mom right now who's like, thank God you just wrote this book because it's giving me so much strength and opportunity and potential that I can actually maybe even have this conversation with my partner, with my husband. What advice do you have for them?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think it's really important um, to not take. I think that again, in the genre of women in workbooks, sometimes it's like here are the ways to fix your partner. Like the amount of people have asked me, like, I mean, why didn't she just marry somebody different? And it's like, no, no,
Oh,
no, no,
wow.
no, no, no. Don't give me another thing to do. It is
Hmm.
not your job to fix your partner. It is your job to figure out what you need for you. And when we fix society, we do fix, quote, fix men. And as we have these conversations, we do that. We do actually create a different structure for our boys, for our partners, for our brothers, for like all the men in our life. So, part of it is recognizing that that's not on you too.